Welcome, UCL fans, to our Season 2 Week 2 review and rankings for the United Championship League. I am your host, Nintendo Fanatic 64, and I have watched all the matches, crunched the numbers, and I'm coming here with a fair and accurate ranking system for the United Championship League. So if you do enjoy this video, please leave it a thumbs up and let me know down in the comment section below who you are rooting for. And don't forget to subscribe. I will be having UCL videos out every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, with Tuesdays being my reviews, Fridays being my previews, and then a special news series that will actually start tomorrow, so you have to tune in tomorrow to find out what that is. Now, let's go ahead and start with our the review, I should say. I've made a few improvements, so special thanks for some of the suggestions from Univa Nightly. Kind of taken what you said and added a few other extra things to it, so, everyone let me know what you all think of it. But our first match, we had the South Beach Slow Kings, who are 0-1, taking on the Real Maril, who are 1-0. And it was a 5-0 victory for the Real Maril. MVP of the match went to the Mega Latios from the Real Marils, who managed to get 4 knockouts this week. Now, moving on to our second match of the week, we had the Tucson Terrakions, who were 0-1, taking on the Pittsburgh Pichus, who were 1-0. And it was a 2-0 victory for the Tucson Terrakions. MVP of the match goes to the Megalopony from the Pittsburgh Pichus, who managed to get 4 knockouts this week. Moving on to our third match, we had the Carolina Keldios, who are 0-1, taking on the Philadelphia Feraligators, who are also 0-1. So both teams fighting for their first victory of the season. And it was a 2-0 victory for the Carolina Keldios. MVP of the match goes to the Mega Caesar from the Carolina Keldios, who managed to get 4 knockouts this week. Moving on into our fourth match of the week, we have the Tulsa Talon Flames, who are 0-1, taking on the Toronto Tokakis, who are 1-0. And it was a 1-0 victory for the Tulsa Talon Flames. MVP of the match will go to Volcanion from the Tulsa Talon Flames, who managed to get 3 knockouts this week. Also like to have honorable mentions to Volcarona from the Toronto Tokakis, who managed to get 3 knockouts and almost brought it back to a victory for that match. In our fifth match, we have the Newcastle Nido Kings, who were 1-0, taking on the Long Island Reggie Rockies, who were also 1-0. And it was a 1-1 forfeit victory for the Newcastle Nido Kings. Long Island Reggie Rockies forfeited the match on the last mon for each of them, knowing that the last mon had no moves that could hit their final mon. MVP for the Newcastle for this week goes to Cresselia from the Newcastle Nido Kings, who managed to get 4 knockouts this week. Moving on to our sixth match, we have the Grand Canyon Greninjas, who are 0-1, taking on the Manchester Magnazones, who are also 0-1. So both teams once again looking for their first victory of the season. And it was a 2-0 victory for the Grand Canyon Greninjas. MVP of the match goes to the Mega Charizard X from the Grand Canyon Greninjas, who managed to actually knock out all 6 of the Manchester Magnazones Pokemon this week. Moving on to match 7, we have the Durham Druddigons, who are 1-0, taking on the Bristol City Blazekins, who are 0-1. And it was a 1-0 victory, I was looking at the wrong one, for the Bristol City Blazekins. MVP of the match will go to Mew from the Bristol City Blazekins, who managed to get 4 knockouts this week. And moving on to the last match of the week, which is being dubbed as the Hype Match of the Week, we had a championship rematch from Season 1 with the St. Louis Rampardos taking on the Bronx Bearticks. And it was a 4-0 victory for the Bronx Bearticks. MVP of the match was a very tough one to call, but I decided to give it to Reuniclus from the Bronx Bearticks, who managed to get 2 knockouts and being the biggest defensive wall of the season thus far. Honorable mentions would have also gone to the Mega Aggron, also from the Bronx Bearticks, who managed to get 3 knockouts, 2 of which, though, were due to Stealth Rock damage from re-entry on the St. Louis Rampardos. So that's going to go ahead and finish up our review of the week. Now let's go ahead and take a look at what the rankings are for it. So I'm going to actually have the rankings sitting up right up above here for it, so just there we go. And you can see I also put in what their record is, as well as the differential score that I've given them, as well as you can also see where they were ranked last week as well. So in 16th place, we have the South Beach Slow Kings, who have a record of 0-2 and a differential score of -8. Last week, of course, they were tied for 10th place. At number 15th, we have the Manchester Magnazones, also with an 0-2 record, but a differential score of -7 keeps them just above the South Beach Slow Kings. Last week, they were tied for 15th, so no real movement there. Philadelphia for Alligators take the 14th spot. Again, a record of 0-2. Their differential score is -5. Again, they were another team that was tied for 10th place. In a tie for 12th place this week, we have the Tulsa Town Flames and the Carolina Keldios with records of 1-1 and a differential score of -3 for each. The Tulsa Town Flames kind of moving up a spot because they were tied for 13th. Carolina Keldios moving up 2 spots or 3 spots rather, because they were tied for 15th the week before. Tied for 10th place, we have the Grand Canyon Greninjas and the St. Louis Rampardos with a... Yeah, I'm just looking at it too fast. Records of 1-1, differential scores of -2. So going in the right direction for the Grand Canyon Greninjas, who were tied for 13th, but a big drop for the St. Louis Rampardos, who were tied for 3rd, and I think it was like a 5-way tie for 3rd last week. Tied for 8th place, we have the Bristol City Blazekins and the Tucson Terrakions, both teams making a move upwards this time, records of 1-1, differential score of only -1. Bristol City Blazekins were 9th place last week, Tucson Terrakions 10th place for them, so both teams moving up. At number 7, we have the Toronto Tokakis moving up to number 7 despite the loss this week. Their differential scores a +1 for that. They were 8th place last week, so even though they did not have a win this week, their score from the first week to the second week was high enough to keep them above the top half of the rankings for it. At number 6, we have the Durham Druttiguns with a 1-1 record and a differential score of 2. Last week they were tied for 3rd, so a little bit of a fall, but not a huge one as compared to some of the other teams this week. Tied for 4th place, we have the Long Island Reggie Rockies and the Pittsburgh Pichus, both with a 1-1 record and a differential score of 3. Long Island, of course, was tied for 3rd, so only dropping really 1 place. Pittsburgh Pichus were tied for 1st after week 1, so they dropped just a few spots as well. At number 3, we have the Newcastle Nido Kings, who are now so far are on a 2-0 winning streak. And have a differential score of 5. Last week they were tied for 1st, so slight tumble, but not a huge one for it. At number 2, we have the Bronx Bear Ticks, who are 2-0 with a differential score of 6. Of course, last week they were tied for 3rd, so now they are definitively in 2nd place. And the number 1 team right now, we have the Real Maril, who were 2-0 right now, differential score of 8. Last week were tied for 3rd. So that's going to go ahead and do it for our rankings. Let me know down below what you think or what you thought of how I changed it up a little bit. I know some of the stuff is a little fuzzy. I'm trying to get better pictures, but again, I'm kind of doing this on my own, and I don't really have all the pictures given to me for it, so I'm just kind of doing what I can with what I can get from them. But again, thank you. Special thanks to Univa Knightley, who actually made the suggestions for doing some of the things I did in this video, as well as making the suggestion for the video that I'm going to be bringing up tomorrow for it. So thank you all very much for watching. Like I said, don't forget to subscribe. I'll have a new UCL video out tomorrow as well. And then, of course, check back on Friday, where we will be doing our week 3 preview for it. So thank you all very much for watching. Take care and goodbye.